Part 68. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei-Shi Niang. Chapter 671. No matter how late she went to bed the night before, Tan Shuhen would definitely get up at around 6 o'clock the next morning to hang her throat. There is also a stone fence in front of the Yu Opera Troupe, but this stone fence is not as high as that of the Wu Opera Troupe. Above the stone fence, close to the hillside on the left, there is a lush castor field. The location of the castor field turned out to be a garbage dump, where garbage had been piled up over the years without being cleared away. When the sun shines, it emits a stench. Later, someone couldn't stand it any longer, so they scattered a few handfuls of castor seeds there, and the castor plants began to grow. Although everyone's garbage continued to be dumped there, it didn't look so dazzling because of the cover of the castor beans. The smell is also isolated. It's just that in autumn and winter, after the castor beans have declined and withered, the garbage dumps are exposed again. However, the garbage dumps at this time are scattered with a large number of castor poles and leaves. Although they are messy, they are not so eye-catching. In addition to autumn and winter, the garbage itself is not everyone is used to such a strong smell. In March of the following year, when the temperature in the valley rises, there is no need to sow seeds. A large number of castor seedlings will naturally grow in that area. Castor is originally a delicate plant that requires careful care, but when it comes here, everyone says that the castor in the Yu Opera Troupe is just like the Yu Opera Troupe. It grows wild as it grows. Coming from the castor field, there is a row of fig trees along the edge of the stone farm. Every morning, Tan Shuhen stands between the two fig trees, facing the outside of the valley, singing her voice being squeezed by the green hills on both sides. Being able to walk in one direction and wandering out, even people from the Wu Opera Troupe can hear. When they heard the sound coming from the valley, they knew that Tan Shuhen had gotten up. After getting married, Feng Logui and Tan Shuhen never had sex together again. At first, when Tan Shuhen went down, after a while, Feng Logui followed her as usual. Tan Shuhen just opened her voice for a while, and when she saw Feng Logui coming down, Tan Shuhen stopped talking. She wore bloomers and walked away along the fig tree. Walked to the castor field, stared blankly at a few chickens eating garbage in the shade, and then went up. Feng Logui was stunned for a moment, and then he understood that Tan Shuhen was unwilling to hang up with him. The next day, when Tan Shuhen went downstairs, Feng Logui did not follow her, but sat the steel pot for cooking porridge at the door. On the briquette stove, open the lid slightly so that even if the water boils, it will not leak out. Feng Logui went downstairs and walked outside along the road. Tan Shuhen looked at his back and sent him off with a babbling sound. Feng Logui walked up the semicircular slope. Su Jianmei and several young practitioners were standing between the camphor and tallow trees, babbling and hollering. Feng Logui stood on the side and followed suit. He raised his voice, then went to the cafeteria to have breakfast, and then went to work. Almost from the second day of their wedding, they had never had sex together, and even had breakfast separately. Marriage did not bring them closer, but just crossed a threshold, found their respective places under the same roof and continued to stay. Because of what, the two of them knew very well, but no one wanted to mention it again. Feng Logui heard Tan Shuhen's babbling voice coming from downstairs. He sat up on the bed and wondered whether he should wait for Tan Shuhen to come up and tell her about the list. He saw an empty glass on the table. This is also the tacit understanding they formed. It was Tan Shuhen telling Feng Logui that for breakfast today, she would drink milk and eat biscuits instead of making porridge. Feng Logui stood up, took the dental cup and towel, and looked at the empty cup on the table. He felt that the cup was not telling him not to stop making porridge, but that it was saying, "You can go." After Feng Logui finished washing, he went downstairs with his handbag and walked to Jiaofang. He saw Su Jianmei still standing there with several young practitioners, babbling and hoarse. Feng Logui did not stand aside today. Instead, he went directly to the office, lay down on the desk, and continued to sleep. He did not wake up until Su Jianmei brought him an enamel bowl of porridge and a salted duck egg and knocked on the table. Come. What are you doing? You had a fight with Tan Shahen last night and didn't sleep well, Su Jianmei asked. What do we have to argue about? Feng Logui said angrily. As soon as he said the words, he felt that Su Jianmei's words were wrong. Did she really know about the list? Feng Logui looked at Su Jianmei and asked, did you hear something? Su Jianmei opened a pair of innocent eyes. What did you hear? What happened? What will happen to this shabby theater troupe, please tell me, Logui. Feng Logui quickly shook his head and said, it's okay, just prepare well for your rehearsal. It's still early, isn't it my afternoon? There are only 3 lines in total in the morning, and I have memorized them backwards. Whatever preparation is needed is up to you and Tan Shahen. Su Jianmei pouted and said. After hearing what Su Jianmei said and looking at her expression, Feng Logui felt that she didn't know about it yet. Feng Logui remembered that the reason why he never told Tan Shahen or revealed it to Su Jianmei was actually that he still hoped that Ding Begu would change his mind when he woke up. Nothing happened. In this world, news is always faster than people running. What Feng Logui didn't know was that the whole group knew about the list change last night. Only Tan Shahen didn't know, and what's more, only Tan Shahen didn't know. He thought others didn't know yet. At 9 o'clock, as before, Tan Shahen arrived at the practice room. As soon as she entered, almost everyone stopped and looked at her. Tan Shahen was stunned for a moment. What happened to these people today? She quietly lowered her head and looked at herself, but found nothing. When she walked aside to put her bag away, she took out the makeup mirror inside and secretly took a look, and then she felt relieved. But after the rehearsal started, there were still a lot of problems. First, when Feng Logui was acting opposite her, it seemed that he never dared to look at her. He was avoiding her eyes. His words were dry and dull, not brilliant at all, and he always made mistakes. They had to start over again. It was not until the 4th time that the maid played by Su Jianmei ran up and was supposed to say, Miss, the master and the old lady are here, but Su Jianmei said the master and the old lady are here. People present included Feng the old man and the musician both laughed. Tan Shahen was completely annoyed and cursed, what happened to you today? Can you still rehearse well? Everyone else was silent. When she saw Su Jianmei still laughing, she became even more annoyed and shouted at her, is this your first day of acting? You can't recite all 3 lines in a play. Are you sorry? Everyone stood there stunned, watching them silently. Su Jianmei snorted, raised her head, spun around in half a circle, turned to Tan Shahen, and walked away. Tan Shahen was so angry that she wanted to rush over and hold her back. Teacher Li quickly stepped in front, clapped her hands and said, okay, everyone is tired from rehearsing these days. That's it for this morning. Let's go back and rest first. Su Jianmei walked straight out. Tan Shahen looked at Teacher Li. The teacher sighed and said softly, go back and rest for a while, your eyes are bloodshot. Tan Shahen was still angry, stuffed things into her bag randomly, and left. Teacher Li walked over and asked Feng Logui, you didn't tell her? Feng Logui nodded. You, Teacher Li glared at Feng Logui and cursed, I really don't know what you are thinking. Tan Shahen came down from Jiaofang and walked towards the valley. Zhen, someone called from behind. Tan Shahen stopped and turned around. She saw Xiang calling her, and Tan Shahen was waiting for her to approach. Xiang looked behind her, then looked at Tan Shahen and asked, don't you know yet? Do not know? What is this? Hey, you really don't know anything, you idiot. Xiang pulled Tan Shahen and walked a few steps forward, walking behind a transformer placed between two poles so that people coming down the slope would not be able to see them. Tan Shahen asked doubtfully, Xiang, you are so sneaky, what do you want to say? The performance list of this arts festival has been changed. For these two plays in the troupe, it is not you but Suji and me who is on stage. Tan Shahen almost laughed. Is there any funnier joke than this? She felt that Xiang was teasing her, but looking at Xiang's serious face, and thinking about all the strange things in the morning, Tan Shahen suddenly felt that she had no idea, and she asked. How did you know? Everyone in the group knows it, but you don't know it, and this noble guy didn't tell you. Tan Shahen shook her head and asked, when did it happen? Yesterday afternoon, that dingbegu came. He, Lao Gui, and teacher Li decided on it after discussing it in the office. Tan Shahen was shocked, and her face turned pale. She felt dizzy and almost couldn't stand. No wonder, this morning, from the moment she walked into the practice room, everyone treated her as a joke. Look, I'm still so proud. She thought of Suji and Mi's hum, that brisk turn, and the disdainful back that was thrown at her. Tan Shahen felt that her head was going to explode, and her hands and feet were cold. You, Tan Shahen, you are really a joke. Zhen, are you okay? Xiang asked. Tan Shahen tried her best to control herself. She shook her head and said it's okay, Xiang. I just wanted to tell the group to see if I could replace someone. Over at the cultural center, learning songs is very time-consuming, and teacher Shi is very demanding. Yan, Xiang, let me tell you something. Don't tell others. Okay, Zhen, tell me. Do you know who we invited for this art festival? Donghua. Haha, guess what teacher Shi told me? She said, let me go on stage to compete with her. Of course I wouldn't think so. Big star, how can I compare, but teacher Shi is asking for it, what can I do? It's very busy there, and I don't even feel like I can handle it here. After talking about it, Tan Shahen felt that her words were incoherent. Tears were rolling in her eyes and about to roll out. Tan Shahen quickly took Xiang's hand to say goodbye and turned around to walk into the valley. The sun has not yet reached the top of the head, it is still overcast in the valley, and the cool breeze is blowing. Tan Shahen walks forward, tears flowing uncontrollably. Thank you Qingfeng Qiagang, user 2297908848, Black Tea 2015, May, Lulu 6717P11, and Bustling Farce for your monthly pass. Thank you for all the votes and reading. I wish you all a happy mood. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 672. When Feng Logui returned home at noon, he saw that on the table at the door, the gas stove was cold, the pots were cold, and even the briquette stove next to the table was about to get cold. Feng Logui knew that Tan Shahen should have returned to her parents' home. Feng Logui quickly opened the door of the coal cake stove, used coal cake tongs to take out the top coal cake and the ignited coal cake tongs in the stove, put them aside, and took out the waste coal cake tongs from the bottom and put them in. Then put the still-fired coal cake back into the stove and add a new coal cake on top. He picked up a broken fan beside the briquette stove and pointed it at the stove door. He fanned it a few times and looked down through the round hole of the new briquettes. A flame lit up underneath. Feng Logui breathed a sigh of relief, sat on the kettle, then took out the key from his pocket and opened the door. Feng Logui was stunned for a moment. It turned out that Tan Shahen did not go out. Feng Logui said, "This coal cake stove is almost black." Tan Shahen sat at the table, drinking water quietly and ignoring him. Feng Logui glanced at her and was stunned again. He saw that Tan Shahen had already put on makeup, and even her eyebrows had been carefully traced. "What kind of makeup are you wearing at noon? When are you going to tell me?" Tan Shahen asked. What did you say? Fenlogui's scalp tightened and he asked knowingly. It's a matter of substitution. There's nothing to say. You'll know it anyway. Yes, I will know anyway, after being treated as a joke and losing face, right? This is something that Director Ding has decided. What can I do? Besides, they have good intentions. They want to protect you and let you go solo. Protect me? When did Ding become so kind? Tan Shahen looked at Fenlogui and sneered, I am an opera singer. You don't know what my specialty is. Thank you for saying it. What's wrong with me? It's not that even Teacher Li didn't object. Teacher Li, don't you object? Teacher Li is my teacher, who is my husband. If your wife is not protected by your own husband, you still need someone else to protect her, right? Just because I'm your husband, it's hard for me to talk. I understand, Ding proposed it, and you didn't even object. He is the director and the leader of the regiment. I am opposed to it. What's the use? Tan Shahen stood up, looked at Fenlogui coldly, and nodded, I understand, I am marrying a pig. Tan Shahen walked past Fenlogui and walked out of the door. Fenlogui walked to the window. He watched Tan Shahen walk out of the valley, turned a corner, and disappeared. This time, Tan Shahen really returned to her parents' home. Fenlogui lay on the bed with his eyes open. It was almost 3 o'clock before he heard the sound of motorcycles outside. He thought that Tan Shahen had returned to her parents' home, but Tan Shahen still came back. Fenlogui stood up, walked to the window, and looked down. The motorcycle was parked too close to the gate. Fenlogui's sight was blocked by the awning above the gate and he couldn't see anything. He listened carefully. After listening for a while, he didn't hear goodbye from Diane Wu or goodbye from Tan Shahen. Instead, he heard the rustling sound in the corridor outside the door. Fenlogui walked away. After passing by, he heard Tan Shahen say in the corridor. It's okay, I'm really okay, you can go. Fenlogui opened the door and the light almost at the same time. He saw Tan Shahen walking in front of her in the corridor outside, followed by Yudian Wu. He could smell a strong smell of alcohol from a distance, and Fenlogui frowned. Tan Shahen did not stop. She entered the door from Fenlogui. When Yudian Wu saw Fenlogui standing at the door, she was a little embarrassed and quickly explained. It's too late. Teacher Shi asked me to send Teacher Tan back. As he spoke, he waved his hand and hurriedly retreated. Soon, Fenlogui heard the sound of a motorcycle churning downstairs, and then walked away. Fenlogui returned to the room and closed the door. Tan Shahen sat there with her head hanging down. The strong smell of alcohol had not dissipated. Fenlogui twitched his nose and realized that the smell of alcohol today did not come from Tan Shahen, but came from her mouth. Have you been drinking? Fenlogui asked. Tan Shahen raised her head suddenly, looked at him and shouted, Yes, Fenlogui. I drank, how is it? Fenlogui was stunned for a moment. This was the first time since childhood that he saw Tan Shahen getting so angry. Fenlogui murmured, drinking is bad for your throat. Tan Shahen suddenly became furious and continued to yell, isn't it bad for your throat? It's not good for your throat, haha, it's not good for your throat, then I will not only drink, but also smoke. Tan Shahen stood up, rushed to the cabinet, opened the cabinet doors one by one, and looked for the cigarettes prepared at home for guests. Fenlogui was frightened. He quickly walked to the window, opened the screen, and reached out to close the window. He thought that Tan Shahen's roar should have woken up everyone in the building. When he turned around, he saw that Tan Shahen had found the cigarette. She had a cigarette in her mouth and the half pack of cigarettes in her hand. She was looking around for matches or a lighter. Fenlogui hurriedly grabbed the cigarette in her hand. The half pack of cigarettes had been crushed into a ball in the fight between the two people. Tan Shahen simply threw it on the ground and stepped on it hard with her feet. During the fight, the cigarette in Tan Shahen's mouth was broken, leaving only a filter tip, which was still biting there. Tan Shahen spit it out and lay on the table crying. Feng Logui stood on the side, at a loss. He could only comfort him. Zhen, what's the matter? We'll talk about it tomorrow. Now, if you act like this now, everyone in the whole building will be woken up. Unexpectedly, this sentence was more effective than anything else. Tan Shahen still lay there, but she immediately stopped crying. After a while, she stood up, took a towel and a wash basin and went out. After returning from washing, Tan Shahen did not return to this room. Instead, she went to the room across the corridor. Opposite was their dining room and living room. As long as people were at home, the key was usually inserted in the door. In order to facilitate coming and going, inside the living room there was a couch, and when Tan Shahen entered, there was no movement. Feng Logui stared at the ceiling in the darkness with his eyes open. Everything was silent. Feng Logui lay there, but he cried silently. He felt that he was too aggrieved. He was aggrieved in front of Tan Shahen, and he was aggrieved outside. He seemed to be aggrieved everywhere. This was probably the price he had to pay to pursue something that should not belong to him. Bar. Why couldn't he just listen to his family's arrangements and marry a lavish girl from the same village? He would go back occasionally a few times a year, cross-dressing and enjoy the treatment that a husband who earns a salary in the city should enjoy when he returns home. At other times, he is free outside. This morning, Feng Logui woke up uneasily from a series of chaotic dreams. It was already bright outside. He looked at his watch. It was 6:30. For the first time, he didn't hear Tan Shahen's babbling downstairs. He walked to the opposite side, opened the door, and saw Tan Shahen curled up on the sofa with her back to the outside. Feng Logui stepped back. He opened the door of the coal cake stove a little, took the steel pot to the bathroom to wash rice. When he walked back, the flames of the coal cake stove also came up, and the kettle lid on the stove jumping up and down. He sat the steel pot on the briquette stove, closed the stove door a little, picked up the kettle, and poured all the water inside into the thermos. Feng Logui took the tooth cup and towel to the bathroom. After washing up, he came back and walked into the opposite room again. Tan Shahen was still curled up on the sofa, facing inward, motionless. Feng Logui walked over and asked softly, "What's wrong with you, are you sick?" When he leaned over and reached out to touch Tan Shahen's forehead, Tan Shahen shouted in a low voice, "Get out!" Feng Logui was startled, retracted his hand, stood there blankly for a while, and sighed softly. He turned and walked out of the room, closed the door, returned to the opposite room, picked up his bag, and walked downstairs. Lao Zheng, a former veteran of the opera troupe, was sitting at the gate downstairs. When she saw Feng Logui, she shouted, "Lao Gui, where is Zhen? I have to wait downstairs." Feng Logui ignored her and walked out. They waited in the practice room until 9:30, but did not wait for Tan Shahen. Teacher Li looked at Feng Logui. Feng Logui shook his head. Teacher Li clapped his hands and said, "Come on, Jianmei, come on, ma'am, everyone start." From that day on, Tan Shahen never took a step towards Jiao Fang of the Wu Opera Troupe. No one from the Wu Opera Troupe heard Tan Shahen's voice coming out of the valley in the morning. Tan Shahen did not appear again in Gaohong, and everyone publicly avoided talking about her. It seemed that there had never been such a person in the group, but she was clearly still there, and her monthly salary and bonus were paid as usual, and it was not Feng Logui who replaced her. Instead, Mrs. Li took it on her behalf, walked into the valley, and delivered it to Tan Shahen. No one in the whole regiment thought there was anything wrong with this. Tan Shahen's name is still there on the attendance sheet. Teacher Li will check it every day, then look at the attendance sheet and sigh. With Tan Shahen away, everyone seems to be relieved. Of course Suji and Mei is eager for it. With Tan Shahen away, she has really become the pillar of the Wu opera troupe. Regardless of whether teacher Li is willing or not, Bai Suhen must be her. Xiang Xiang has become Xiao Cheng. Teacher Li always felt that he was ashamed of Tan Shahen. If Tan Shahen walked into the practice room every day and called him Teacher Li again, he would feel that there was no place for his old face. As for Feng Logui, whenever Tan Shahen approached him outside the house, he would subconsciously become nervous and feel uncomfortable all over, let alone having to act in a scene. Even Ding Begu, who clearly knew that Tan Shahen had never gone to work in the troupe, but he didn't even ask Feng Logui and Teacher Li, what was going on. What's going on? He still doesn't know. If he doesn't know, Suji and me I will let him know. Ding Begu had too many reasons to convince himself and the entire cultural bureau that the current situation of the Wu opera troupe was the best period in the history of the Wu opera troupe in Yongcheng. It was not that Tan Shahen was absent, but that she was upright, supporting the underachievers, although this was called the latecomer. Suji and Mei is the same age as Tan Shahen. The reason why Ding Begu had to make the entire bureau think so was that the director, who usually didn't care about the affairs of the Wu troupe at all, got the festival's program. He was stunned for a moment and asked Ding Begu, what about the starring role in the troupe's play? Not Tan Shahen? Ding Begu understood that Suji and Mei still needed a halo. Only when she had enough halo and became Mrs. Ding Begu, no one would think that she was taking advantage of Ding Begu's power and squeeze out Tan Shahen. She relied solely on her own strength. Of course, these are all things for later. Thank you for the monthly votes of Zhouping, the worm that flies away, the sample that is bad, and the ion exchange resin that takes the spotlight. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 673. What surprised Feng Logui was that Tan Shahen was sent back before 1 o'clock that night. There were two people below, one said goodbye and the other said thank you. It was no longer goodbye. What Feng Logui didn't know was that after last night and starting today, Teacher Shi decided not to take them for supper anymore. Teacher Shi discussed with the curator that the business of the song and dance hall is so good now that the people of the art troupe can no longer make selfless contributions every night, especially Tan Shahen. After all, she is also a professional actor. When the troupe goes out to perform, every performance but they are all subsidized. Besides, the business of the song and dance hall is so good, isn't she responsible for most of it? The director agreed with Teacher Shi. From this day on, as long as people from the art troupe come to perform, they will be subsidized 2 yuan per person per day, and Tan Shahen will be given a subsidy of 10 yuan, which is higher than her income in the theater troupe. As for the supper, you can go by yourself if you want. Teacher Shi won't bring her any more anyway. She vaguely felt that if she continued to eat the supper, it would be either Tan Shahen or Shen Linlin. Something would happen to one of these two people, and she couldn't bear it. Tan Shahen no longer goes to the theater troupe, but she still comes to Teacher Shi every afternoon and practices harder than before, because the art festival will open in 2 days. Tan Shahen held hollow fists with both hands and put them on her chest. She looked at the French plane trees and the cultural square under the window of Teacher Shi's office. When she sang loudly, she sometimes had an illusion. She felt like she was from the cultural center, and he is no longer a member of the Wu opera troupe. The opening ceremony was 2 days away, but Feng Logui felt that there was something wrong with his voice. As he sang, a broken note would suddenly appear. This made Teacher Li very nervous. He had a backup plan to replace Tan Shahen. but there is no second plan to replace Feng Logui. Suji and I was also very nervous. This was her first time playing a major role. She was a little nervous at first. If Feng Logui, who was playing opposite her, had a situation on stage and she was asked to save the scene, she was worried that she would be confused and unable to cope. Feng Logui comforted them in turn and said to them, "It's okay, it's just that I've been a bit stressed these past 2 days. I'll find a way to relax." Both Teacher Li and Suji and I knew why Feng Logui was under great pressure. Teacher Li asked Feng Logui, "Zhen Zhen still goes to the cultural center every day?" Feng Logui said, "Go." "That's good, I know she will persist." Teacher Li nodded, turned to Suji and I and said, "Don't be nervous, just let go. Zhen Zhen is a person who knows the general situation. When the day comes, if there is any situation, she will still come to the rescue." Suji and I smiled and said, "I know, Teacher Li, with Tan Shuhen here, of course I feel confident." In her heart, she curled her lips and snorted contemptuously. Who asked her to save the situation? She didn't know who was saving whom. That night, during a break in rehearsal, Suji and I came close to Feng Logui and whispered to him, "Your throat is still a little tight. When it is over, you can go to my place. I have soaked Pang De Hai." Feng Logui listened without saying anything or showing any expression. The rehearsal ended and the other musicians and actors left. Xiao Wu and Xiao Jin had just come back from outside. They said they were coming to practice. They were heavenly beings and had no idea what was happening in the troupe. Xiao Wu also asked Feng Logui, "Sister Shuhen doesn't rehearse at night now. Why does she go to the cultural center every day?" Feng Logui said that the solo performance at the art festival was her highlight. She had never sung before and she was trying to build up her courage. Xiao Wu said oh without saying anything. He didn't even change his clothes, and just started a series of somersaults. Feng Logui shouted, "Yes, the old foundation is still there, Xiao Wu." Xiao made an okay gesture. Suji and I and Feng Logui stood there, watching Xiao Wu and the others somersaulting for a while. Suji and I lightly touched Feng Logui, glanced at him, and walked away. Feng Logui stood there alone, his face turned red, and after thinking about it, he walked out. Suji and I walked in front, and Feng Logui followed behind, keeping a distance of 30 to 40 meters between the two. Suji and I walked to the gate and turned in. When Feng Logui came in, she had already gone upstairs. Feng Logui walked to the stairs, looked behind him, then looked at the corridors to the left and right, and followed him upstairs. By this time, Suji and I had already reached the stairs on the second floor and reached out to turn off the lights at the stairs. Feng Logui walked to the door of Suji and I's room in the dark. As soon as he reached out and pushed the door opened automatically. Suji and I pulled him in. There was no light in the room. Suji and I couldn't help laughing, but then she felt bored for a while, not with Feng Logui, but with herself. You have always wanted to get ahead. Now, Tan Shuhen's starring role has been taken away by you, and her husband has also been taken away. You fell asleep, but Suji and I felt that she was not as excited as she imagined. Suji and I, what do you want? What do you want? Suji and I asked herself. It's still early for her. She's probably still in heat in the dance hall, Feng Logui scolded. It doesn't matter, this Fat C is really effective, Feng Logui said with a smile. Seriously, can you still perform well? Suji and I asked. Sure. Why? I might be getting married. Who are you going to get married to? Feng Logui was surprised. He always thought that Suji and I didn't even have a boyfriend, so why did she suddenly want to get married? Suji and I sighed quietly, you know him. I know who it is. Lu Lipol. Ah, Feng Logui was shocked, but Suji and I chuckled. She asked, Lao Gui, let me ask you, if my fiancé was Lu Ligan, would you feel very excited? Feng Logui thought for a while and said honestly, yes. Su Jianmei sighed, and Feng Logui understood that she was not going to marry Lu Ligan, but had been secretly in love with Lu Ligan. Why is it all Lu Lizan? Fantasy, Feng Logui scolded. However, I didn't really like her after that. I just wanted to use this to win over Tan Shahan mentally, and also asked Feng Logui to ensure that he cooperated with me. After all, he and Tan Shahan were from the same family, and I squeezed Tan Shahan away. How could you? Just make sure that Feng Logui won't cause any trouble for him when he gets to the stage. Su Jianmei wants to make sure nothing goes wrong. The stage for the opening ceremony of the art festival was set up on a square by the river. Behind the stage, 2 cordons were drawn. Inside the cordons were 2 tents, one large and one small. The smaller tent was for the invited guests. A star's makeup, and the other actors were crowded in that big tent. Not far from the stage, it used to be a tea room, but it is now closed to the public. The tea room is equipped with air conditioning. It is used for the leaders and guests who came to attend the opening ceremony to rest. Of course, there are 2 more rooms inside, one they are guests, and there is another room for provincial and municipal leaders and senior leaders who live outside Yongcheng. In August in Yongcheng, the weather is very hot. Although the opening ceremony is scheduled for 5 p.m., it is still very hot outside. Leaders and guests will only move to the first stage in front of the stage 5 minutes before the official start of the opening ceremony. Sit in a row. The reason why the opening ceremony was set at 5 o'clock was so that after the opening ceremony, it would get dark enough for the fireworks to be set off. It was not set directly until night. It was also so that the leaders could see the river outside through the glass windows of the tea house. The performance of the wedding of fishermen with 9 surnames held with gongs and drums, this is the most outstanding folk performance in Yongcheng. Tan Shahan sat alone in a corner, slowly applying makeup in front of a mirror. Beside her were people from the art troupe, and on the other side of the tent were a large group of people from the Wu opera troupe. After the 2 groups came in, they automatically separate. People in the troupe saw Tan Shahan sitting in the corner with her back to the side. They felt that it was inappropriate to go over to say hello to her at this time. They even lowered their voices for fear that Tan Shahan would know that they were here instead of saying hello. Su Jianmei was the only one who shouted, for fear that Tan Shahan wouldn't hear her here. Everyone thought she did it on purpose, especially when she deliberately shouted loudly, "Logui, help me get this, Logui, go get that for me." Everyone thinks, Su Jianmei, don't go too far. Xiao Wu came over and asked Tan Shahan, "Sister Shahan, why didn't you join the group? You tricked me back into the group and ran away by yourself. It's not interesting." Tan Shahan said with a smile, "We are still performing on the same stage." "Who said I ran away? You didn't read the program list. The one behind you is me." Xiao Wu chuckled and thought about it. "Yes, this is still on the same stage, but why does it feel like it doesn't fit in well?" "Xiao Wu, I heard that you practiced well. How many turns are you planning to turn today?" "Guaranteed 40. "Xiao Wu, you are so awesome. You must work hard. My sister is applauding you in the background." Xiao Wu said, "Yes, thank you Sister Shahan." As the chief director of the program, Teacher Li also had to come over. He stood there, feeling a little sad in his heart and a little embarrassed on his face. Tan Shahan looked at him and smiled and said, "Mr. Li, what do you have to explain?" Teacher Li exchanged a few words with Tan Shahan. After saying that, he wanted to say something more, but couldn't. He could only pat Tan Shahan on the shoulder and walked away. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 674. The performance at the opening ceremony was very successful. After Tan Shahan went on stage to sing 3 songs, She had to sing an extra song amidst the enthusiastic applause of the audience. Fortunately, the accompanists of the art troupe worked with Tan Shahen every day, and she could sing they can all accompaniment to all the songs, and there is no problem even if they sing extra. After the fourth song was sung, the audience still felt that it was not enough and still asked for another song. However, Teacher Lee considered that if he continued to sing more, the subsequent performances would be postponed. I am afraid that even Dong Hwa, who sang the finale, would have objections. Singing earlier was already breaking the rules, and this was Teacher Lee's intention to compensate Tan Shahen. Dong Hwa had finished singing here and was going to Brother County to attend the opening ceremony of the Watermelon Festival tomorrow morning. The car to pick her up had already arrived. The assistant urged her and she said wait. She walked out of the small tent and went straight to the big tent. Come on, the big tent is in a mess. Everyone is waiting for instructions to come on stage and be received by the leaders. Those who were interviewed were all local actors. The invited stars usually left in a hurry after finishing their performances. Dong Hwa should have left at this time, but suddenly appeared in the big tent. Everyone was shocked. Then applauded. Dong Hwa shouted to the crowd. Where's the little girl who sang I love you, China in front? Tan Shahen was in the corner, not knowing what was going on. Teacher Lee quickly led Dong Hwa over, and everyone got out of the way. Tan Shahen stood there, watching them walking towards her, but she was stunned. Although before taking the stage, I did secretly have the idea of competing with Dong Hwa, but now I see such a big star appearing in front of me, I am still a little at a loss. Dong Hwa came over, smiled at Tan Shahen, held her hand, and said to her, you sing very well, you should participate in the CCTV Young Singer Grand Prix. Teacher Shi, who was standing by the side, was so excited that she almost cried. She said, we are already making arrangements. Well, if I am a judge, I will remember you and see you in Beijing, Dong Hwa added while holding Tan Shahen's hand. Tan Shahen quickly said, thank you, Teacher Dong. Thank you, Teacher Dong. She felt that all the grievances she had suffered for this moment were worth it. Jinbo, a photojournalist from the local Yongcheng Daily, was clicking away with his camera. Dong Hwa simply turned around, put his arm around Tan Shahen's shoulders and said to him, come on, comrade reporter, please give us a shot film. The two people were smiling like flowers, and the reporter clicked their frames. Dong Hwa left with everyone's applause. Almost at the same time as she left, someone came in and shouted, hurry up, get ready to go on stage, stand in line in the order in front of you, don't crowd when you go on stage, look at your feet, don't fall down and make a fool of yourself. Tan Shahen saw Su Jianmei staring at her in the crowd, with fire in her eyes. Tan Shahen heard herself let out a hum. There was another pair of cold eyes behind her that she didn't see, that was Shen Linlin, the former #1 singer in Yongcheng, who was completely reduced to a foil today. Su Jianmei's lost heart was quickly compensated on the stage. When the old leader brought the provincial and municipal leaders to the stage to meet the actors, he also patted the back of Tan Shahen's hand kindly with his hand and told her that the performance was good. Little comrade, he sang very well, but he was most interested in Feng Logui and Su Jianmei, who performed their own stories. He held Feng Logui, who played himself, in his hands and said with a smile, you did a good job. Even at that time, I was stronger and darker than you. People called me Iron Tower. Little comrade, no one would call you Iron Tower, right? Feng Logui quickly said, no. The provincial leader who followed the old leader added, then you must follow the example of the Iron Tower and work more and exercise more. The old leader laughed. When he smiled, the other leaders also laughed. When he held Su Jianmei's hand again, the old leader refused to let go. He said, it looks like, it's so similar, exactly like my wife when she was young. Su Jianmei quickly said, thank you, Chief, for your concern. The old leader touched Su Jianmi's hand and said, the performance was really good. It brought out the spirit of my wife. At that time, we were still working selflessly for the revolution. It seems that the old leader has been away from Yongcheng for too long. People in Yongcheng call their significant other wives or old women, and no one calls them wives. The provincial leader quickly added, I also think this play is very educational. We want to treat this spirit as a family heirloom and pass it on from generation to generation. That's good. What you said is good. What about the comrades in the county? The old leader asked. The secretary and county magistrate of Yongcheng County, who were at the back of the queue, quickly came to the front. The old leader held Su Jianmi's hand, shook it up and down, and said to them, you just want to vigorously promote this educational work and strive to have it performed in Yongcheng, the whole province, the whole country, and even Beijing. The secretary and the county magistrate nodded quickly. We must follow the instructions of the old leaders and perform this work in Beijing as soon as possible. Tan Shahen stood aside, feeling sad for a while. She thought, who among these actors does not aim to perform in Beijing? Acting in Beijing is almost synonymous with sensation in the country. Su Jianmi's performance today can be said to be mediocre. If she goes on stage, he must be a better actor than her. If so, then he should be the one receiving praise from the leaders now. After the art festival ended, the county really regarded the Wu opera troops coming to Beijing as a top priority and ordered the county cultural bureau to implement it as soon as possible. This was the ardent expectation and encouragement of the old leaders. Ding Begu felt that he was overjoyed, and now Su Jianmi's aura was all over him. Su Jianmi was an actor appointed by his old leader to look like his wife. This time when he came to Beijing, of course Su Jianmi would play the leading role. No one dared to say anything. As for Tan Shahen, just go and cool down. Ding Begu was immediately sent to Beijing to implement this matter. Through his fellow villagers in Beijing, he contacted a theater under the Ministry of Railways. Although this theater was not well known or big in Beijing, it was still a performance in Beijing. The most important thing is that the old leader will come. When arranging the list of people to go to Beijing, Teacher Li did not include Tan Shahen. He felt that Tan Shahen was not allowed to be Su Jianmi's alternative, so he still chose Xiang Xiang as Su Jianmi's alternative. When Teacher Li, Feng Logui, and Su Jianmi, led by the secretary and county magistrate of Yongcheng County, left Yongcheng and boarded the northbound train in Hangcheng, Tan Shahen shed tears silently at home all night. She had to get out of bed and take out the photo of herself and Dong Hua to look at it before she felt better. Tan Shahen thinks she will have to get a frame tomorrow and hang the photo on the wall. Regarding this photo, there is another episode. From the editor-in-chief of Yongcheng Daily to the reporters who took the photo, they all felt that this photo was too good and too rare. Dong Hua went to so many festivals and had seen so many. There are not many actors out there who she can take the initiative to take a photo with. This photo is very good both from a news perspective and from the readability of the picture. Their readers and the general public in Yongcheng will also love this photo. But the layout of newspapers is always about politics. When it comes to politics, the photo of the old leader meeting the actors and shaking hands cordially with Su Jianmi must be placed on the front page. The photo of Dong Hua and Tan Shahen can only be placed on the front page. Ranked at the bottom of the front page. Ding Begu saw Yongcheng Daily and couldn't help but be happy. It's really a good show in pairs. Isn't this another halo? When Tan Shahen saw the newspaper, she felt as if she had been burned, and quickly threw it aside. She felt a pain in her heart. She did not feel sorry for herself, but felt that Dong Hua's good intentions had been stained. Fortunately, the reporter who took this photo was very considerate. He specially enlarged the photo and sent it to the dance hall upstairs of the cultural center in the evening. Tan Shahen was very happy and insisted that the reporter stay. When it was over, She wanted to invite him eat supper. Reporter Jinbo happily accepted Tan Shahan's invitation, and the two of them went to eat Jinhua Tonggupat. However, when it came time to pay the bill, Jinbo refused to let Tan Shahan buy it. The two of them walked outside. Jinbo asked Tan Shahan, "I am going to develop photos tonight, do you want to see them?" Tan Shahan actually wanted to see the developed photos. Of course she was very interested in how a photo came out, but considering it was so late and she and Jinbo were not very familiar, Tan Shahan said, "Let's do it next time. I have to go home early today." "Okay, then we have an agreement. Every time I want to develop the photos, I will tell you until you come." "Why are you so shameless?" Tan Shahan scolded with a smile. "Yes, I have been a naughty person since I was a child. When I see a beautiful girl, I become even more naughty." Jinbo smiled and said, "Come on, give me your hand." "What?" Tan Shahan asked, but she still extended her hand to him. Jinbo took out his pen and wrote something in Tan Shahan's hand under the dim street light. Tan Shahan felt her palms itching. After finishing writing, Jinbo said to her, "This is the address of my darkroom, please keep it." "How did you know I was going?" "I know you will definitely come," Jinbo said confidently. "Boring," Tan Shahan scolded. But when she got home, she still wrote down the address on her palm, and then went to wash her hands and face. Tan Shahan got up from the bed, walked over to open her bag, and took out a small notebook. She wrote in a hurry that day without even looking carefully where it was. This afternoon, Jinbo called her again, and the call went through. He just said, "I work in the evening," and hung up the phone. Tan Shahan took the phone and was stunned for a while. It was really just a routine notification. Tan Shahan smiled. Tan Shahan took a closer look and discovered that this place was actually not far from here. It was in the yard of the forest work station, from a small road opposite the Wu Opera Troupe to the riverside. Tan Shahan looked at her watch. It was already past 10 o'clock. She felt in a bad mood today, so she asked teacher Shi for leave and did not go to the dance hall. Tan Shahan thought to herself, by this time, he was probably gone already, right? Tan Shahan walked to the window, and bursts of cool breeze blew from the window. Tan Shahan looked at the street lamp at the intersection in the distance, and decided to walk over and have a look. It was better to just take a walk or go to the river to relax. It was better than continuing like this. Bored at home. Tan Shahan walked to the mirror and took a look. Her eyes were a little swollen, so she sat down and put on makeup. Halfway through, she suddenly hesitated again. "It was so late, why did you go to see a man? You are so serious about it, aren't you going to watch other people work, then why do you still want to be beautiful?" With this thought in mind, Tan Shahan stood up, took a wet towel, wiped off all her makeup, then stood up and walked out. "Thank you for your monthly ticket. Thank you for all the votes and reading. I wish you all a happy mood." The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 675. At the end of this road, turn right, with the river on one side and the courtyard wall of the forestry engineering station on the other. Tan Shahan stood by the river for a while, looking at the moon falling on the water, being broken bit by the flowing river water, and then another. Gathering them together little by little, and then breaking them apart little by little, she could hear the sound of the river water, like the sounds of countless fishes' mouths opening and closing. She walked forward for a while and arrived at an abandoned pier. This pier was built when Anhui's wood could be lowered from the upper reaches. Now a hydropower station has been built on the river, and the waterway to Anhui has been cut off, and no more wood can come down. This pier was abandoned. On the other side of the pier, there is a door, the door of the forestry station. This door used to be the front door, but now it has become the back door. The newly opened front door is on the side of the road in front. The wood in the forestry station now comes from Kyandeo. They are pulled from forest farms in the mountains around the lake and transported out from here. The iron door is wide open, and the people in the communication room don't bother to care about people who come in and out empty-handed, because there are too many people who have to come out and go to the river to wash their hands and feet, or even take a bath. On this hot day, not only people from the forestry station itself include drivers and porters who transport wood, including residents near the front gate. They will also pass through the forestry station and come to the riverside. If it weren't for Tan Shahan's beauty, no one in the communication room would have given her a second look. Entering through the iron gate, you will see a large courtyard. The courtyard is brightly lit, and countless small flying insects are flying around every lamp. There are piles of wood piled in the yard like hills. At one end is the courtyard wall and front door next to the road. On both sides of the courtyard are 2 rows of 2-story houses dozens of meters long. Tan Shahan didn't even ask, she just felt that it was in the row of houses on the left. In this row of houses, there are 3 stairs leading to the second floor. Tan Shahan chose the staircase closest to the river, 201. It must be the first one on the second floor, either this end or that end. Tan Shahan felt it should be at this end. When Tan Shahan arrived upstairs, she laughed softly. She saw that the first room on the second floor was not 201, but 200, and there was such a strange number. When she walked to the second room, it was 201. Tan Shahan saw the doors and windows of this room were closed tightly, and the windows were covered with thick paper. The curtains were closed, and no light was exposed either from the windows or under the doors. Tan Shahan hesitated, thinking that no one should be there, but since everyone was here, she still knocked on the door. Unexpectedly, a voice sounded from the door, "Wait, wait, wait 2 minutes." Tan Shahan coughed. The people inside laughed, "Haha, it's Miss Tan. I knew you would definitely come. Don't be so beautiful. I was walking with my friends. When I got to the door, I thought of coming in for a look," Tan Shahan said through the door. "It doesn't matter, just come." The door opened a crack, and Jinbo stuck his head out, looked at her and said, "Why are you lying? You obviously came alone. I saw you coming alone when I was upstairs." Tan Shahan's face instantly turned red. It would have been embarrassing if it were during the day. Fortunately, it was night and the light here was dim. Tan Shahan asked anxiously, "Where did you see it?" Jinbo laughed loudly, "Did you see it? It's revealed. I was just lying to you." "You dash." Tan Shahan stretched out her hand and tapped him on the head. Jinbo walked out and closed the door. Tan Shahan asked, "What? The beauty is hidden in the golden house. Hide your farts, there are so many beauties. When you come, throw them out too. If no one is around, you are afraid of wild cats getting in." Tan Shahan asked curiously, "Where are you going?" "Next door." Jinbo pointed at 200, "Come here." Tan Shahan followed, and Jinbo opened the door and turned on the light. Tan Shahan saw that this was a photography studio. Jinbo and Tan Shahan said, "This is my studio and a place where I make extra money." "What to shoot?" "Take pictures of everything, product photos, artistic portraits, puppies and kittens." "There must be a lot of girls you tricked into coming here, right?" Tan Shahan asked, looking at the well-equipped photography studio. "Yes, quite a few, but you are the most beautiful. If you continue to be so glib, then I'll leave." Okay, if you like to hear lies, then I will just tell lies next time." "What, truth or lie?" Jinbo turned around, looked at Tan Shahan and said, "The truth is, you are the most beautiful girl I have ever seen." "No, it is not beautiful, but the most charming." "The lie is, you are the ugliest girl I have ever seen. Which one do you want to hear?" It was difficult to answer this, so Tan Shahan changed the subject and said, "Any girl, I'm a mother." Yes, that's what makes her more attractive. A young mother has a quiet temperament and is not as impetuous as a girl. Come, sit there. Jinbo pointed to a picture surrounded by photography lights. Chair, talk to Tan Shahen. What? Tan Shahen asked. Take a picture of you, Jinbo shouted. I want you to see for yourself how beautiful you are. Are you crazy, taking pictures now? Do you need time to take pictures? Are you in a hurry to go home again? Tan Shahen hesitated. She was not in a hurry to go home. She would rather be alone with her thoughts when she went home. She might as well take pictures here. However, she was not prepared at all and had even taken off half of her makeup. Don't tell me you're not ready. Jinbo seemed to have seen through Tan Shahen's thoughts. He squinted his eyes and looked her up and down. You are the most beautiful like this. Tan Shahen looked at him. When he said this, he was serious. He seemed to have entered another state, not slick at all. The windows of the photography studio were sealed, and Jinbo turned on the photography lights. The room was very hot and there were beads of sweat on Tan Shahen's forehead. Jinbo handed her a tissue and told her that she would be fine soon. He walked over and opened the curtains of a window facing the river. Tan Shahen discovered that there was a window air conditioner installed on the window. Jinbo turned on the air conditioner and closed the door. After a while, the room became cooler. Tan Shahen sat down on the chair. Jinbo took out the camera and stopped talking. Instead, he clicked and took pictures from different angles. Sometimes he got very close and the camera almost touched Tan Shahen's face. Sometimes then he withdrew far away and stood there, looking at Tan Shahen and saying nothing for a long time. Don't worry about me. You can do whatever you want and think whatever you want. Jinbo did not look at Tan Shahen, but murmured to her. Tan Shahen felt that his voice seemed to come from a dream. As expected, Tan Shahen no longer paid attention to what he was doing and continued to think about her own worries. She was wondering where Feng Logui and Su Jianmei were at this time. She couldn't help but frown slightly and heard the camera click. Tan Shahen was about to scold her for being so ugly. What are you taking a picture of? The camera clicked and beeped twice more. After one roll of film was taken, it was already past 12 o'clock. Jinbo asked Tan Shahen, are you in a hurry to go home? Don't worry, let's develop and enlarge it now. Of course Tan Shahen wanted to see her photo right away, so she said yes. Tan Shahen followed Jinbo and walked out of the photography studio. After staying in the air conditioner for a long time, she felt a heat wave hit her face as soon as she went outside. The two people walked to 201. Jinbo opened the door with the key. A hotter heat wave came out of the door, along with a strong smell of potion. Jinbo shouted, wait a minute. He walked in, turned on the air conditioner on the window near the wall, and pasted the indicator light on the air conditioner with black electrical tape. Tan Shahen walked into the room. She saw that in the dark room, only a dark red light bulb was on. In the middle of the room, a piece of iron wire was pulled. On the iron wire were rows of clips, holding long strips and printing them. Film, and photos that have been developed and printed. There is a row of tables against the wall. On the table is an enlarger, neatly arranged measuring cups and cylinders, and bottles of potions. There are also several large ones on the table. Doctors and nurses in the hospital, the kind of enamel tray that holds syringe needles. On the edge of the table are two sinks. Jinbo walked over and closed the door, and told Tan Shahen that it would be cool after a while. I didn't like to turn on the air conditioner when I was alone. After getting used to the dark red light in the darkroom, Tan Shahen looked around and saw no fan. She said, how can you work if it's so hot? It's not suitable for children when I'm working alone. Jinbo grinned. His teeth were very white in the red light. What do you mean? Tan Shahen asked. I like to work naked, it's exciting. Jinbo smiled. No wonder she had to wait for 2 minutes outside. It turned out to be, Tan Shahen's face suddenly turned red again. Fortunately, the light here itself was red. Tan Shahen felt that this kind of light had a kind of ambiguity, coupled with Jinbo's voice and his when she smiled, the white teeth made Tan Shahen feel dazed for a moment, and she suddenly felt her heart panic. In order to cover up her embarrassment, Tan Shahen looked at a photo hanging on the wire, most of which were artistic photos of girls. Jinbo said, "Don't look at it, none of them will be as beautiful as what you are about to see." Tan Shahen was stunned for a moment, and then realized that he was talking about herself. "Come on, let's start right away." Jinbo took the film out of the camera and took a jar on the table. Jinbo and Tan Shahen said that this was a developing jar for developing film. He inserted the film head into the core of the developing tank, wound it in circles, closed the lid, and said, "Let's wash it with clean water first." He opened the faucet on the sink a little to let the water flow from the developing tank. A hole in the top flows into the jar, shake it gently a few times, and pour the water out of the jar. He seemed to be talking to himself, but also seemed to be telling Tan Shahen that he needed to use the developer now. He opened a bottle of potion, poured it into the measuring cylinder, raised it to look at it, added a little more, and then poured the developer in the measuring cylinder into the rinse tank. He put his hands on the platform, tilted his head slightly upward, and his whole body was trying to stand upward, as if he was ready to fly out at any time. He kept this posture, as if he was thinking about something, and as if he was thinking about something. Calculating the time, after a while, he asked himself, "Is it okay?" "Okay." He poured out the developer, and then poured in the fixer that had been measured with a graduated cylinder. He still placed his hands on the table and tilted his head slightly upward. Tan Shahen sat there and looked at him, her face burning. She felt that this man's back, in this light, and listening to him speaking unfamiliar words one after another, she felt that this man was a little sexy. After the film was developed, Jinbo clamped it with a clip and hung it on the wire to dry. He turned his head and smiled at Tan Shahen, saying that it would take a while to dry. He walked aside and pressed the recorder. The indicator light on the recorder was also removed. When the sound came out, it gave people a very strange feeling, as if the sound came from the depths of darkness. If you look for the source of the sound cannot be found. It was the singing voice of a foreign woman. Her voice was slightly hoarse, very magnetic, and had an air of carelessness, which made Tan Shahen feel that word again, sexy. Tan Shahen had never heard such a song before, and she couldn't understand what she was singing, but she thought the sound was pleasant. "Whose song is this?" Tan Shahen asked. "Karen Carpenter, American. Does it sound good?" "Sounds good." Jinbo came over and sat down on the chair next to Tan Shahen. When he sat down, his arm touched Tan Shahen's arm. His arm was very cold. Tan Shahen was startled and stood up quickly. "Thank you for a safe journey and book friend 140516095729465 for your monthly ticket. Thanks for all the reading and votes. I wish you all good health. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei-Shi Niang. Chapter 676. Tan Shahen walked away, pretending to look at the film hanging on the wire, but her heart was pounding. She felt that it was over. She was here today and might be over. How could it end, and how could it end? Tan Shahen didn't dare to think too much. When she thought about it, her face would burn with fire, and her whole body would tremble. While looking at the film hanging there, she walked around in a circle. When she got there, she couldn't help but want to take a peek at him, but found that he was also looking at her. Tan Shahen quickly turned her head away, feeling in her heart in a panic. He pinched the film, almost tearing it off the clip, and quickly let go. Karen Carpenter also paused, and there was a moment of silence in the room. After a while, it started playing again, and continued with the next song. It was still so carefree, like a person, leaning on a random place, loose and relaxed. Standing on the ground, he seemed to be alone, waking up from an ambiguous dream, thinking back and telling something lazily. The voice in the dream really sounded. He stood up and said to himself, "Okay, okay." He walked over, and Tan Shahan stepped back subconsciously, but her body seemed to be pushed by something and refused to leave. He took off the film from the clip, held it up, held the edges of the film with both hands, and moved the film little by little in his hands. He seemed to have decided which one to enlarge first, and took the film to the table. "Come here," he said softly, and Tan Shahan followed him involuntarily. He placed 3 enamel trays side by side on the table, poured developer solution into one enamel tray, developer stop solution into another tray, and fixer solution into the third tray. While he was doing this, while talking to Tan Shahan kept nodding her head. He removed the film holder from the enlarger, placed the selected film in the frame of the film holder, closed the film holder, and put the film holder back into the enlarger. He turned on the light source of the enlarger, and Tan Shahan saw a blurry shadow appearing on the cardboard at the base of the enlarger. He kept turning the focus knob on the enlarger. Tan Shahan saw that the shadow was getting clearer and clearer. She couldn't help but leaned over, and their heads were almost touching. Tan Shahan took a breath and held her breath. She saw her frozen face at the moment when she frowned slightly. This face has a touch of sadness and some arrogance. It is beyond the face she sees in the mirror every day. It is comparable to any face on the cover of popular cinema. Tan Shahan is the first I knew for the first time that I could still be so beautiful, and that this was my true face without makeup. She felt like she was suffocating. "How holy, is she beautiful?" he asked in a whisper beside her. Tan Shahan felt that her whole body was shaking and she could hardly stand. There was a buzz in her head. He reached out and gently held her hand. At this moment, everything was silent and the buzz in her head disappeared. Tan Shahan's trembling also disappeared, her fingers couldn't help but move, and hooked his hand. But his hand left immediately, just like he said, "I work at night," and immediately hung up the phone. "What are you doing?" Tan Shahan suddenly felt extremely reluctant to let go and wanted to reach out and grab it again. His hands are back to work, and even if the sky falls, he will not let the work stop. Tan Shahan felt a little aggrieved, but also a little lucky. She was glad that his hand was taken away in time. Otherwise, she didn't know how long she would hold this hand. She felt that she would probably hold this hand and endure it. He cried bitterly and cried all his grievances to this hand. "Is it okay to make it this big?" he asked, and she hummed. He turned off the power of the enlarger, took out the photographic paper, inserted it into the platen, and turned on the light source with a click. His head was slightly tilted upward again, as if he was thinking about something or counting in his mind. After waiting for more than 10 seconds, he turned off the power. "You come." As he said, Tan Shahan didn't know what he was going to do for her. He took out the exposed photographic paper from the cardboard, and involuntarily held Tan Shahan's right hand with one hand, and put a bamboo clip in her right hand with the other hand. He told Tan Shahan that the next sequence was to develop, then stop developing, then fix, and finally rinse in the sink. Didn't he ask her if she understood? Instead, ask her in a consulting tone, "Okay." Tan Shahan nodded and said yes softly. He stood behind Tan Shahan, and Tan Shahan felt his breath lingering in her neck, itching, but making people feel drunk. His right hand held Tan Shahan's right hand holding the clip, and his left hand touched Tan Shahan's left hand, and Tan Shahan naturally hooked it. The bamboo clip picked up the photo paper and put it into the developer. Tan Shahan saw her face slowly emerge on the white paper. It turned out that she was really so beautiful and proud. She felt happy again. Suffocated. Okay, he said in her ear. His right hand directed her right hand to put the beautiful face into the stop solution, then into the fixative, and finally into the basin in the sink, and opened the faucet a little. Tan Shahen looked at her face slowly immersed in the water. She saw herself under the water, sparkling, but she was so beautiful. His hand hugged her waist from behind, and his voice floated from the dream together with Carpenter's voice, "If I let you go, I will never forgive myself in this life." Tan Shahen felt a deeper dizziness. Her body leaned back involuntarily. She felt that her head, just like Carpenter's song, was leaning back lazily. In the void, she wanted to find where she anchors. She turned her head, searching, and he was also searching for her. The sound of dripping water, the ambiguous dark red light, Carpenter's singing suddenly far and then closer, two mouths kissing together, a whole world they all receded. "I don't care, I don't care," Tan Shahen heard a voice in her heart. "I didn't care." She felt that the voice was hoarse, almost crying. "Why should I care?" His hand reached over to unbutton her buttons. Tan Shahen suddenly woke up. She raised her hand and slapped him in the face. He froze there. Tan Shahen pushed him away, ran over, and opened the door. The real world outside fell on her, and Tan Shahen ran out. Carpenter's song chased her, but not very far. Lu Hong called Zhang Chen and told him, "Mr. Zhang, I have good news for you. Your friend's case has been sentenced and he will be given a lighter sentence, 2 years. 2 years, still given a lenient sentence?" Zhang Chen's heart skipped a beat. 2 years was such a long time, so many days. "Let me tell you, Mr. Zhang, the sentence will be calculated from the day he surrendered. Also, if he behaves well in prison, not only will he behave well, but he has so many friends who will definitely help him smoothen his relationship. It's okay in prison. The sentence reduction actually takes less than 2 years." Zhang Chen felt a little more relaxed, so to speak. A period of time had passed, but in fact it was really not more than 2 years. "Lu Hong, when can we go see him?" Zhang Chen asked quickly. "You can't see it now. Once you're sentenced, you'll be sent to prison, and you won't be under the control of the police. If you want to see it, you can only go to the prison to see it," Lu Hong said. "I asked my friend's husband to help find out whether he went to Wuxi, which prison you are in, determine which prison you are in, and then I will look for connections in the prison." "Okay, thank you, Lu Hong." "You're welcome, Mr. Zhang, your business is my business." Zhang Chen immediately told Xiao Zhao the news. Xiao Zhao had the same reaction as Zhang Chen when she heard it. She shouted, 2 years, so long, how much hardship will Lao Meng have to endure? There is no way, it's already a light sentence. Lu Hong said, Meng Ping took all the responsibilities on himself. He was the only one involved in this case, and everyone else was fine. I think this is Meng Ping wants the result. Okay, Xiao Zhao sighed, then when can we go see him? Now that the person is in prison, Lu Hong is looking for connections with the prison. It doesn't matter. People who are not immediate family members are not allowed to watch, Zhang Chen said. 2 days later, Lu Hong called Zhang Chen again and said frustratedly on the phone, I'm sorry, Mr. Zhang, I can't help you anymore. What's wrong? Your friend is not detained in Wuxi, he was sent to Nanjing. Ah, Zhang Chen was surprised, then which prison in Nanjing did he go to? Mr. Zhang, I don't know either. Okay, thank you Lu Hong. After hanging up Lu Hong's phone, Zhang Chen immediately dialed Gao Zhepeng's number in Nanjing. Zhang Chen explained half of the matter, and Gao Zhepeng shouted, Mr. Zhang, please wait. Gao Zhepeng took the phone and shouted, Su Li, Su Li. Su Li ran over and asked, what are you doing? Mr. Zhang, something happened, Gao Zhepeng said. Gao Zhepeng put the phone on speakerphone and said, "Mr. Zhang, tell me." Zhang Chen told the story from the beginning, and Gao Zhepeng and Su Li understood. Su Li said, "What a big deal, Mr. Zhang, just want to find out which prison he is in, and want to see him, right?" Zhang Chen quickly said yes. "Wait for my call, Mr. Zhang." Su Li and Zhang Chen said, this was a guaranteed deal. The next afternoon, Su Li called Zhang Chen and told him that Meng Ping had been found and was sent to Nanjing Lohukiao prison, also known as Nanjing prison. Zhang Chen quickly asked Su Li, "Can you find connections in prison?" Su Li said that he had been found, otherwise how would he know that he was at Lohukiao? "Then when can we go see him?" Zhang Chen asked. "You can't see it now." "Why?" "Prisoners who have just entered the prison are all studying intensively. Anyone who is not allowed to visit the prison must wait until the intensive study is over and they will be assigned to the specific prison below." "How long will it take?" Zhang Chen asked. "Half a month." Su Li and Zhang Chen said, "I have already said hello. As soon as I arrive at the prison below, my friend will go directly to the warden of this prison. All the wardens know him. Then we can arrange for you to come and see it." The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 677. After Zhang Chen's dynamic zone opened, this area has indeed become the busiest place on Stadium Road. Especially in the evenings and Sundays, many sports enthusiasts come here to hang out. The Hangcheng Stadium opposite saw the booming business here and finally couldn't sit still. They knocked down the wall on Stadium Road and converted the stands under the stadium on this side into a row of shops. The provincial stadium next door, a row of houses, was built along the walls of the gymnasium. Zhang Chen wrote a sports goods street on the door of Dynamic Zone. I looked at it at the time and thought it was an exaggeration. I didn't expect that it has actually become a street here now. Even on days when there are no games in the gymnasium and stadium, there are also people in this neighborhood. There will be a lot of people. Zhang Chen told the reception room that every night, the lights of the stadium were turned on, and anyone outside who wanted to come in to play or watch the ball would be allowed in. Soon, Zhang Chen simply set up a guard at the factory, and mobile security guards were added to the factory area. The gate was basically open to the outside world. In this way, their place became the center of this area again. Zhang Chen looked at the provincial gymnasium and Hangcheng Stadium and smiled proudly. "Come on, come together. You will all be open to the public and free of charge. As long as you can't do it, I will still be the highlight of this area." What's more, their appearance and image have been deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Even the provincial stadium and Hangcheng Stadium, they can't do such a big image. There is a lighted court that is open to the public for free, which attracts more sports enthusiasts to come here. Every night, a lot of people gather on their basketball court. Zhang Chen regrets that he left another court, changed into a garden. However, changing it to a garden also has its advantages. There were not many gardens in the city at that time. The most annoying thing was that in every garden, there would be joint defense team members with flashlights. They liked to find lovers who were hugging each other. As soon as a person's lips touched their lips, a beam of light hit him with a swish, and then there was a burst of "What are you doing?" and then began to check the identity and household registration. Zhang Chen smiled and told his security guard, "Don't be so obscene. If you see someone kissing you, just stay away. Why don't you kiss yourself?" Zhang Chen's garden and the metasequoia forest behind it were soon discovered by sports enthusiasts as a free place. In addition to playing and watching football, they could also fall in love. With such a good place, what would young men and women do? Will they not follow suit? On the iron gate in front of their door, there are still the 5 characters of Kuning Garment Factory, which are also painted very eye-catching with red paint. This was left intentionally by Zhang Chen. He said that this can give the old employees a sense of belonging, and they feel that this is still Kuning. has not changed. If we say it has changed, it has become better. But these young people from outside didn't buy it. When they knew that this place was also called half an acre of field, they were willing to call it half an acre of field, and they immediately developed their own language system. For example, if two people say, going to Ban Mutien to play means coming here. Going to Ban Mutien to play around means going to the specialty store on Yan'an Road. Although playing and playing around both mean playing in Hangcheng dialect, they use these two words to naturally distinguish the two places. People who listen and speak, there is never any mistake or misunderstanding. The lighted courts are full of people playing ball. What the workers in the factory, especially the old workers, like to do most every day is to stand in front of the second floor window with a cup in their hands, drinking water, during their breaks from work. Watching the people below playing basketball for a while and then continuing to work is the best rest. The workshop implements a piece rate system, and there are no strict regulations on workers' commuting time and even overtime time. Zhang Chen was gratified that the old employees of Kuning Garment Factory gradually became the same as those who worked overtime. The workers who came from Sanbeo and the newly recruited workers were integrated. They came to the factory early every day and automatically started working overtime at night. It's cooler at night, so you can do more work, and if you do more work, you can get more money. Although these old workers are different from those who go out to work, they don't think about saving money to go home and build houses, but none of them will be able to do it later. There is still a family, a large family, and various needs for firewood, rice, oil, salt, sauce, vinegar, and tea, which require expenses. At noon, after finishing their meal, the workers would take their chairs and go to the metasequoia forest to take a nap in the cool place. After dinner, the young people playing sports had not yet arrived. When the stadium was the emptiest, some old workers in their 40s finally couldn't hold it back and started playing ball. Many young working girls also followed. They played basketball. This is exactly what Zhang Chen hopes, but what makes Zhang Chen regretful is that among these people, he has never seen Liang Fen. When he saw her legendary jump, she shouted Liang Fen. The ball followed the shot and went into the basket. Zhang Chen recalled that time when the factory reserved the court and watched the match between the national men's basketball team and the American college all-star team. He didn't see 2 points. Why was that? After Zhang Chen observed carefully, he discovered that every time she had lunch or dinner, she did not use the stainless steel dinner plates in the cafeteria to prepare meals. Instead, she used 2 lunch boxes that she brought with her. After preparing meals, she hurriedly left the canteen, walked to the bicycle shed, put my lunch box in the basket in front of my bicycle, rode my bicycle out, and came back when it was time to go to work. Zhang Chen curiously asked Zhao Jingjing, and Zhao Jingjing said that she had patients at home to take care of and had to go back to cook. Who is sick? Zhang Chen asked. You don't know. Zhao Jingjing looked up at Zhang Chen, who shook his head. Among the retired workers in our factory, there is Ji Donghai, who is Liang Fen's husband. Isn't it true that Liang Fen is only in her 40s and her husband has already retired? The person who had a heart problem and recovered from it turned out to be a salesperson in our factory. Zhang Chen understood. He learned more details and asked Liang Fen for their home address. On Sunday, he took Wei Venfang and bought a lot of nutritional supplements and fruits and went there. Liang Fen's home is in a very narrow old courtyard in Higher Lane. When Zhang Chen and Wei Venfang arrived, Liang Fen was washing clothes by the pool in the yard. He was stunned when he saw them. He thought they were here to look for them. Someone else. Originally, there were more than 200 people in the factory. Liang Fen was in the factory and had little contact with Zhang Chen and Wei Venfang. She would never have thought that these two leaders, especially Zhang Chen, made a special trip to see her and Wei Venfang. Lao Ji's. When Liang Fen knew Zhang Chen's intention, he quickly wiped his hands on his clothes and led them home. There are bungalows in the yard, and the two sent home occupies one room of more than 30 square meters. The door is made of bricks and linoleum, and a simple room of 4 to 5 square meters is built as a kitchen. The room of more than 30 square meters was divided into two rooms with a board wall in the middle. The inner one was a bedroom for two couples, and the outer one had a small square table against the wall, where they could eat with their daughter. I used to do my homework, draw, etc., all on this table. Against the opposite wall, there was a single bed, which was their daughter's bed. When Zhang Chen and the others arrived, Ge Donghai was sitting on a bamboo chair at the door, and his daughter Ge Ling was sitting at the square table, reading a novel by Xuemili rented from a book stall. She was tall at over 2 feet 1.70 inches meters, but her daughter was very petite and looked very well behaved and smart. When she saw Zhang Chen and Wei Wenfang looking at her with confusion, she waved her hands. He smiled and said, "Don't be surprised, I brought you here." Liang Fen scolded, "I really can't figure it out. How many times have I picked it from the trash can with you?" Everyone laughed. There was no other place to sit in the room. When they came in, Ge Ling hurriedly walked away, walked to her bed and sat down, giving them her original seat. There were only 3 stools beside the square table, and Zhang Chen gave 2 to them. Sitting with Wei Wenfang and Ge Donghai, she walked over and sat down with her daughter. Zhang Chen told Ge Donghai and Liang Fen that when he arrived at the factory, he had been busy with the renovation of the factory building, and later on the renovation of the office building, so he was not familiar with the situation of the workers in the factory. During this period, the factory after he settled down, he had time to get to know him, and found out that Master Ge had been sick at home. Today, Sunday, he and Director Wei came over to take a look. Liang Fen quickly said, "Mr. Zhang has so many things to do, and we are not big shots, yet we still want Mr. Zhang to worry about visiting us." Zhang Chen smiled and said, "You are the big shots in the factory. When I first came to the factory, I saw the banners on the wall. Every year, you were ranked first, and only one was ranked second. All of them belong to you. Credit, right? And Master Ge, I heard that half of the sales in the factory were made by him in the past. If you are not a big shot, who else is a big shot?" Liang Fen and Ge Donghai were both a little embarrassed and smiled and said, "Mr. Zhang said that, Mao is embarrassed." Zhang Chen asked about Ge Donghai's disease, and Liang Fen told him that the scientific name of Lao Ge's disease was, she couldn't remember it at once, and her daughter Ge Ling shouted, "Primary cardiomyopathy." "Yes, that's it." Liang Fen said, "Oh, Sister Lin is the same. She can't work or move too much. If she moves, she will become short of breath, have chest tightness, and have difficulty breathing, which will be dangerous." Zhang Chen understood and said, "No wonder, so you have to go home and cook every day." "I'm right. My daughter used to be able to help with the chores. My daughter is 18 years old and graduated from high school last year. Now it's hard to find a formal job. She has been staying at home for a few months and she can't stay at home. I just found a job as a salesperson in a store this year. I can't leave the store while looking at the store. Only like today, Sunday, when the landlady goes to visit the store by herself, can she rest. In this way, when I usually cook, I have to come back and do it myself. 2 points and tell them. Actually, I can make it myself," Ge Donghai said from the side. "It's something that one person can eat and it's not strenuous to make." Liang Fen glanced at him and cursed, "You're showing your face, and there's no one in the room. If you turn over in a rage, there won't even be anyone to call for help." Zhang Chen also said that Master Ge still needs to pay attention. Zhang Chen thought for a while and said to Liang Fen, "Either way, I will ask Director Wei to explain to the canteen that when you go to get food from now on, I will get you 2 portions so that you can eat it when you bring it back without having to cook it again, especially it's noon and I have to cook when I get back." Time is too tight. Liangfen and Ge Donghai shouted at the same time, feeling embarrassed. What's the point? Master Ge is originally from the factory. All our retired masters, when they return to the factory, they go to the cafeteria to eat if they want, Zhang Chen said. Yes, it's better to do this. I'll talk to the cafeteria early tomorrow morning, Wei Venfang also said from the side. Liangfen and Ge Donghai quickly said thank you. Zhang Chen looked at Ge Ling and said to Liangfen, and your daughter, if you don't mind it, let her go to work in the store on Yan'an Road. In this way, the three of you will be in the company. Liangfen and his daughter looked at each other, and both of them laughed. Liangfen said, that would make me so happy. Ge Ling looked at Zhang Chen and Wei Venfang, and told them with some embarrassment that, in fact, when the Ben Muxian store was recruiting workers, she applied for it, but there were too many people who signed up at that time, hundreds of them, and she was not accepted. Selected. Then you can go to work tomorrow, Zhang Chen told her. Ge Ling nodded quickly. Thank you Wuming Daizai for the reward. Thank you Tianying 1978 and Kong Buffei for your monthly tickets. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 678. Zhang Chen is very busy, and so is Xiao Zhao. During this period, He Hongmei took Xiao Zhao's sister and brother to play. He Hongmei had time and a car, so she went to the airport to pick up Xiao Zhao's sister and brother. The two of them also lived at her place. Originally, Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao wanted them to live in the dormitory of Kuning Garment Factory, but after all, it was too small and they were worried. He Hongmei said generously, it's too deserted for me to live alone there. Yao Mei and Gua was alive with me. Xiao Zhao, are you relieved? Xiao Zhao said don't worry, I'll leave it all to you. Xiao Zhao's sister and brother also like He Hongmei very much. They are like two little tails, following He Hongmei. Wherever He Hongmei goes, they follow. Even when He Hongmei gets up in the morning and goes to the market to pack, they follow behind. When the boss there asked, He Hongmei said they were her brother and sister. With this, the whole summer vacation has almost passed. He Hongmei and Zhang Chen Xiao Zhao said, the two bosses, give you two choices, either buy a car or buy a house. You can't always be like this, asking Wu Zhao to pick you up every day. Like me, I can drive myself and go wherever I want. Wherever you go, you can leave whenever you want. It's so convenient. Can't you afford a car? Also, if someone comes to your family and they don't even have a place to live, they have to live in a dormitory. You can guess, are you stingy or can't afford a house? Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao looked at her. He Hongmei turned to ask Xiao Zhao's brother and sister, tell me, next time you come, do you want to stay at your sister's house and take a car driven by her sister? My sister nodded and said that she wanted to stay with her next time I came. My younger brother also said that it would be better to take my sister's car. Whoosh, 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 my sister drove and passed all the other cars. The younger brother and younger sister obviously got it wrong. Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao laughed, and He Hongmei also laughed. She touched the head of her younger brother and sister, and liked how they made such a mistake. Don't laugh. You must choose at least one of these two, otherwise I won't even be able to stand it. I will take action. What action? Xiao Zhao asked with a smile. I'm here to grab the money. I don't care. I'll go to your finance department and the cashier below. I'll grab the money when I see it. I'll buy it for you after I grab the money, He Hongmei shouted. Then you will be shot to death by the police, bang bang, bang bang, the younger brother shouted. Idiot, you shot me twice, my sister scolded. I don't want Sister Hongmei to be beaten to death. Zhang Chen, Xiao Zhao and He Hongmei could not stand upright with laughter. Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao felt that He Hongmei's words made sense, and they discussed it seriously. They thought that if they wanted to buy a car, they would need to get a driver's license first. This driver's license cannot be obtained in a day or two. Without a driver's license, what's the use of buying a car? It's not like having someone drive you around. It's better to buy a house first. Now Xiao Zhao works in the store every day, and Zhang Chen works most of the time at Kuning Garment Factory. It only takes 10 minutes to walk between the two places. They want to buy a house nearby so that they can commute to and from get off work. Also convenient. As a result, they searched for several days but found nothing. Is there any house for sale nearby, including in the city? At that time, the housing reform of various units had just begun. The move was fast, and the house was in the name of the individual, but no one would put it in their own name. The house they live in is sold. Where will they live after it is sold? Only in the suburbs of Hangzhou are there some houses for sale. Even these houses are built by other people's units. After they are allocated to people, the couple, the man and the woman will all share houses in the unit, or there will be an elder in the family. After the work unit divided the houses, they found they were too far away, so they sold them. This is the case with the house that He Hongmei bought. The husband and wife both work in the city, and the house assigned to them by the work unit is in Sijiking. They feel disgusted with living there, as if they have become country people. When the house comes to everyone, I sold it quickly and still lived in the old house with my parents. Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao felt that if they wanted to live in the outskirts of the city, they might as well continue to live in the landlord's house as they do now. It was close to Sanbeo's factory and was convenient. They were used to it, and they really couldn't bear to move. Otherwise, they can even stay in the dormitories in the factory. Forget it, since they couldn't find a suitable house, the two of them gave up the idea of buying a house and discussed that Xiao Zhao should learn to drive first when they had a little free time. After learning, they bought a car, and she could drive with Zhang every day. To the north, it is convenient for Zhang Chen to come and go. Zhang Chen still rides Wu Zhaohuai's car from Sanbeo to Kuning Garment Factory every day. He thinks that this is good. When he gets up in the morning, he can go to the factory first to see what is going on in the factory, make arrangements, and then just go to Stadium Road and return to the factory in the evening. If anything happens, it can be solved on the same day. The production scale of Kuning Garment Factory has been saturated. Their future production capacity expansion will still be in the Sanbeo factory. In the new factory building that is getting taller day by day, I really live in other places and return to the factory. It's inconvenient again. After the production of Kuning Garment Factory stabilized, Wei Wenfang returned to the Sanbeo factory. To put it bluntly, Kuning Garment Factory is more like a larger processing factory. There is no purchasing or sales. The products produced are not delivered to the Yan'an Road store every day. Here, it is brought to the distribution center of the Sanbeo factory, and the required noodles and accessories are also brought from Sanbeo. The business of such a factory is very simple, and things are also very simple. As long as Zhao Zhailong is in charge of production, Zhang Chen himself is in charge of the design center, and Xiao Zhao is in charge of the finance department. Even the factory has been filled with workers. No more new workers will be recruited, and Wei Wenfang, the office director, really has nothing to do there. Although she preferred to work on Stadium Road, she couldn't bear to stay there and asked to come back. In fact, when I returned to Sanbeo, there seemed to be nothing specific to do. But Sanbeo was still a big construction site after all. Wei Wenfang just took care of a little in the east and a little in the west. At the end of the day, when he thought about it, all he was doing was trivial. I didn't seem to do anything specific, and I just felt a little bored. Seeing Zhang Chen and the others' prosperous careers, I felt a little envious. Wei Wenfang is actually a person with a big heart, but not a big heart. How dare she go to Hainan? People who have been in Heiken will think that it is impossible even if they don't think big. Heiken also makes your heart big, unless you are like Wu Kai is a heartless and unambitious person who drifted to Hainan. She, Wei Venfang, has seen the world. She has sold an entire Hongyu building. It was a bigger sale than what Zhang Chen, Xiao Zhao and the others are doing now. Wei Venfang wondered if she could go there too. Starting a business? She discussed with Wu Ziyai, and Wu Ziyai said, "What kind of business should I start? What if I lose money? Isn't it great just like this?" Wei Venfang scolded him for having no ambition, saying that everyone can start a business. Why can't we start a business? Do you still want to work for others all your life? Wu Ziyai was a person without any opinion. Wei Venfang liked him because he would listen to him in everything. Since Wei Venfang insisted, Wu Ziyai said, "Then you go and think about it. When you think about it, we will go and talk to Mr. Zhang earlier. It would be too uninteresting to say that you can't just throw your pick and leave." "Of course, idiot, do you think I don't even know this? We are starting a business, and we may need help from Mr. Zhang and Xiao Zhao. They already have the foundation and connections, and we have nothing. If they can help us, then our business is half successful. Look at our company, although on the surface it is Mr. Lu who is busy, in fact it does not require Beijing's support. Once Beijing's support is gone, the company will collapse immediately. We don't even know where Mr. Lu is." "No." As Wei Venfang said, Wu Ziyai thought it made sense. No matter what Wei Venfang said, Wu Ziyai would think it made sense. Speaking of relationships, Wei Venfang thought of Deputy Director Lu, whom Zhang Chen took her to meet. He was a high-ranking official. If she wanted to find a way to get in touch with him, it would be best to invite him to dinner. Wei Venfang had seen with her own eyes how Lu Ligan managed and operated the company, and had also seen how Meng Ping and his company operated. She felt that she should have her own abilities, but she should also have connections in all aspects. Whether it was Lu Ligan, Meng Ping, and even Qian Fang, all have a lot to learn. Of course, so does Mr. Zhang. Since then, Wei Venfang has continued to work seriously every day, while also thinking about how she should start a business and work seriously. She feels that it was Mr. Zhang who taught her to do everything perfectly and consider every detail. Even when you take over a hot potato like Kuning garment factory, you do it little by little every day, and you can always find opportunities in the end. Meng Ping, Lu Ligan, and Zhang Chen, Wei Venfang thinks they are three types. Meng Ping is the kind of person who has a leadership temperament. When he ascends to a high position, many people will follow him and work for him. His greatest advantage is that he never calculates personal gains and losses when doing things. If you follow behind people who don't care about personal gains and losses, if you care about it, you will feel too selfish and too insignificant. Such people always feel that the world is too small, not that it is very big. Lu Ligan is more like an artist, strategist, and visionary. He is the kind of person who is strategizing and winning thousands of miles away. He has a rich imagination and can think of things that others can't think of. He is never afraid of making mistakes. No matter how many people there are in the world in front of him, and how much space you give him, he will be able to think of ways to change this space. But it is precisely because his imagination is so rich that sometimes it makes him ignore many details. These details are inconspicuous, but it is possible that in the end, it is these details that will make him lose everything. As for Zhang Chen, Wei Venfang felt that he seemed simpler than those two people, but in fact he was more complicated and unpredictable. He does not have such big intentions for the world. Opportunities are always placed in front of him, instead of him looking for opportunities. Lu Ligan and Meng Ping are both people who will look for opportunities. But not everyone can seize the opportunity when it is presented to them. Zhang Chen is a perfectionist, trying hard to do everything well, even worrying about gains and losses, and looking forward and backward. He seems hesitant and lacks decisiveness, but it is often because of this character that he becomes resilient. It is very strong and difficult to break. When faced with any opportunity, it will try its best to seize it. Sometimes he is passively chosen by the opportunity. His personality will not avoid it, but will only work hard to do well. Because of this, he will consider more details. I don't know if it's because he studied art. To study art, you draw on a piece of white paper. Every stroke you draw will determine the success or failure of your painting. You must be careful about every stroke and every stroke. You are responsible for the details. If the painting is damaged, you have to find a way to restore it yourself. No one can help you. Just like when you encounter 2 points, if it were Lu Ligan, Wei Wenfang felt that he might just take out a stack of money and give it to you so that you can solve the problem. He would not be like Zhang Chen, who would go to others by himself. At home, I looked around and asked, and it seems that I didn't spend much money, but it helped Liang Fen even more. Money can solve people's temporary difficulties, but it can't solve the fundamental problem. If she had 2 points, Wei Wenfang felt that she would be more grateful to Zhang Chen. Wei Wenfang likes to think about these things whenever she has time. She feels that thinking about things a lot and experiencing things before you will make you mature faster and be able to understand the world and people better. She grew up from a small place. Coming here, it is impossible for him to have seen much of the world, but because he likes to ponder, Wei Wenfang feels that it will make him less petty. At this point, she felt that she was quite similar to Zhang Chen. He was also a person whose inner world was always bigger, more complex, and even more delicate than what he showed on the outside. Wei Wenfang couldn't help laughing when she thought of this. Thank you Li Rujin for your monthly ticket. Thank you for all the votes and reading. Good evening, everybody. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 679. Zhang Chen climbed to the 3rd floor and went to the design center first. There were 2 designers who were already designing autumn clothes. They handed their works to Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen made some suggestions and asked them to revise them. So Zhang Chen was deliberately training them by letting them start designing autumn clothes so early. He Hongmei also said, "Master, don't let them feel too comfortable and think that designing clothes is very simple. Just go to any magazine, copy a style, and make some changes. Let me tell you, many of my classmates are like this. Dry. Did I make you feel that it was too smooth?" Zhang Chen said with a smile. Of course I'm different. I'm your apprentice, your driver, and Bai Bei's nanny. By the way, I don't get paid, but they all do, He Hongmei shouted. Then I'll pay you your salary and you'll officially come here to work, Zhang Chen said. Forget it, I'll just keep doing what I do now, performing my art without selling myself. He Hongmei shook her head. Zhang Chen laughed, but felt that what He Hongmei said was right. Fashion design, you say is simple, is indeed as He Hongmei said. Anyone who can draw a few strokes can do it. Just copy a style from a magazine. Add a button here, add a tab there, make a split, or turn the suit collar into a green collar, and you can make a difference. But this kind of design has no soul. This is where clothing design is not easy and difficult, especially for commercial designs like theirs. You can't even get good results on the drawing board or on the model. You have to rely on consumers. If you feel satisfied, be willing to pay for it. After the design center moved here, Zhang Chen hired 6 new designers, but he always felt dissatisfied. Most of them had the habit of taking shortcuts that He Hongmei mentioned. They were probably all her seniors and juniors. Zhang Chen typed 2 return tickets, and others did not dare to hand them over again. Zhang Chen walked to their workbench, looked at them, and said something to them before leaving the design center and going to the office. He walked into the door of the office area opposite and saw Yang Fen and Ge Donghai sitting on the sofa in the rest area. They were waiting for him. Zhang Chen quickly let them into the office and asked them, "Your daughter, how many days have you been working? How do you feel?" "Okay, now I come back every day and I'm happier than before," Liang Fen said quickly. "That's good." Zhang Chen smiled and asked Ge Donghai, "Master Ge is here to reimburse the medical expenses today." He thought they came to him to ask him to sign the reimbursement form for medical expenses, but when he thought about it, it was wrong. Every time Accountant Li checked the reimbursement ratio, Zhao Jingjing brought it over for him to sign. No, Ge Donghai said quickly, "It's not about medical expenses." "What's the matter? Master Ge, tell me." "It's like this. I've been at home these 2 days, and I was thinking that Mr. Zhang is taking such good care of us, and we don't have much ability to help the company with other things. So I wanted to come over and ask Mr. Zhang about our company's products. I have no intention of expanding into the Shanghai market. If I go there with my old face, people will still sell it." Ge Donghai said. Zhang Chen was shocked. When Ge Donghai said it, he really remembered that Shanghai was indeed a blank for them. It was the only place without agents in the entire East China region. However, what Ge Donghai said, what is the way to expand the Shanghai market? Zhang Chen and Ge Donghai said that the Shanghai market is really a gap in our company. However, we don't understand the Shanghai market and don't know what to do. Master Ge, you are an experienced supply and marketing person. If you have any ideas, just tell us. Ge Donghai and Zhang Chen said that of course the best department stores in the Shanghai market are department stores such as 100 and Hualian. When foreigners go to Shanghai, they either go to big shopping malls or locals also like to go to big shopping malls. They think things in big shopping malls are very reliable. At that time, we only had 101 stores, which fed our entire factory. Zhang Chen remembered and asked, "I saw in the honor room that the certificate of product trusted by consumers issued by Shanghai No. 1 department store was Master Ge's earned money." Ge Donghai and Liang Fen both laughed. Liang Fen said yes. At that time, Lao Ge just went to Shanghai. After Lao Ge fell ill, it turned out that the people in the factory were not nice to talk to. As soon as Lao Ge got angry and asked for this and that, he would not help set up this line. Otherwise, the factory would not have declined so quickly. Zhang Chen understood and thought to himself, it would be really great if his products could enter the No. 1 department store in Shanghai. Zhang Chen asked, "Master Ge still has contact with them?" "We don't keep in touch much, but we still have to talk to each other on the phone a few times a year. The person Master Ge has the best relationship with is Shanghai 100. From 100 to 900, I have a good relationship with Hualian Commercial Building. The manager of the clothing department always tries to sell me off." When Ge Donghai talks about Shanghai, his Mandarin is mixed with Hangzhou dialect, and he brings out the Shanghainese accent. He is truly a veteran supply and marketing man who runs in Shanghai. "Those people are still there now?" Liang Fen asked. "They're gone, most of them are gone, but the current managers are all from the Chengguang garment department. They all call me uncle. They still recognize me when I go." Ge Donghai turned around and said to Zhang Chen, "And Mr. Zhang, they are making adjustments in every store now, just to make it like ours on Yan'an Road, where people can walk around at the counter." When Zhang Chen heard this, he felt happy. He thought, if this is the case, this is really a good opportunity for him. Maybe he can occupy the Shanghai market right now, and this Ge Donghai seems to be well prepared. Not only did he understand all these situations, he also made a special trip to the store on Yan'an Road to see his company's products. This is probably the basic quality of an experienced supply and marketing person. Zhang Chen smiled and said, "Master Ge, this is great news. By the way, we have never done anything in a shopping mall before, so we don't know at all. It's upside down, Ge Donghai said. Undercut, what do you mean? Zhang Chen asked. The price of clothing is determined by ourselves. The mall deducts 28% of our monthly business payment, and the rest is paid to us. I asked clearly. Now we have to do it? They charge a piece of space is given to us, about 10 to 20 square meters, the size depends on the relationship, the location, and we will decorate it ourselves. Zhang Chen nodded and asked, what other fees are there? Also, there are 2 or 3 salespersons in a store. We have to recruit these ourselves, and we pay the salary. There are no other monthly fixed expenses. Even on holidays like National Day and Spring Festival, the mall will pay each unit, charging hundreds of dollars in advertising fees at a time. Zhang Chen did some calculations and found that the cost is not high. The biggest problem is that it is Shanghai. As long as you enter, you will win. It really doesn't matter how much money you make. If you occupy the Shanghai market, it will only bring advertisements to yourself. The effect is hard to say. Mr. Zhang, what do you think? If you want to make a decision, I will go to Shanghai, Ge Donghai said. Zhang Chen was surprised. If you take a trip, what about your body? It's okay. I'm not really Sister Lin. A trip to Shanghai is still bearable. No, Zhang Chen shook his head, this is too dangerous. Let him go and take the medicine with him. It doesn't matter, Liang Feinai said. Zhang Chen still shook his head, and Ge Donghai was a little anxious. Zhang Chen said, either this, Master Ge, I will ask the factory's car to take you there, with the medicine, and Zhang Chen He Liangfen said, Master Tang, thank you for your hard work. You go with Master Ge. Ge Donghai and Liangfen agreed, and the matter was settled. Wu Ziyawai drove them to Shanghai the day after tomorrow. Before leaving, Ge Donghai and Zhang Chen said, Mr. Zhang, there is one more thing. You'd better arrange for a young man with bright ideas to come with me. I will hand over all the relations in Shanghai to him. If you can do it, he will allocate goods and make orders every day, and settle the accounts every month. Everything has to be contacted with the mall, and he connected it so that there would be no disconnect. When Ge Donghai said this, he meant to dig deep into his heart and soul without reservation. Zhang Chen felt a little moved and said quickly, thank you, Master Ge. After sending Ge Donghai and Liang Fen away, Zhang Chen immediately went to the Yan'an Road store and told Xiao Zhao the news. Xiao Zhao was of course very happy after hearing it. Shanghai, when I was a child, I would be excited and yearned for seeing these 2 names on the travel bags carried by others. The Shanghai No. 1 department store at the intersection of Nanjing has been seen in many movies and TV shows. Now, my own clothes must be. How could Xiao Zhao not be happy when he sold it there? Which one do you think is better to send, Xiaoli or Xiaowan? Zhang Chen told Xiao Zhao about the person Ge Donghai mentioned and asked her. Xiao Zhao thought for a moment and said, if it's for internal management, Xiaowan is more suitable. She's careful and less likely to make mistakes. If it's dealing with outsiders, Xiaoli is more suitable. She's courageous, but sometimes a little bit crazy. Zhang Chen nodded. He also felt that if he was to be sent to Shanghai in the end, Xiaoli would be more suitable. This person would have to be able to stand alone there, deal with so many people, and continue to expand new markets. Ge Donghai brought him in. But you can't rely on him for everything, he is a patient after all. Actually, there is someone more suitable than them, Xiao Zhao said. Who? Wei Wenfang. Zhang Chen's eyes lit up. Yes, Wei Wenfang is the most suitable person to take charge of her role on her own. She is a person who has gone through great storms, and nothing can stop her. Yes, Wei Wenfang is the most suitable, Zhang Chen said excitedly. I just don't know if she is willing, Xiao Zhao said. This is going to Shanghai, not to some remote area. What girl doesn't want to go to Shanghai? Zhang Chen thought about it and asked, you mean she will be separated from Wu Ziyawai? Hey, let's do it in Shanghai. If so, Wu Ziyawai often goes to Shanghai, and it's not like we haven't seen each other for a long time. Let's ask before we talk, Xiao Zhao said. Zhang Chen felt that Xiao Zhao's tone seemed different. He looked at her and asked, what's wrong? Xiao Zhao smiled and said, it's nothing. I just asked her before deciding. If someone doesn't want to go, you can't force them to go. But when Xiao Zhao said this, Zhang Chen felt that it was not nothing, but something. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 680. Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao took Wu Ziyawai's car back to Sanbao factory. When they got off the car, Xiao Zhao carried Zhang Xiangbei and went to Zheng Huiyang and the others. Zhang Chen walked to the office. When he saw that Wei Wenfang was not there, he and Wu Ziyawai he said, help me find Wei Wenfang. After a while, Wei Wenfang came. She had just taken a shower, her hair was still wet, and she was holding a towel in her hand. She asked, Mr. Zhang, are you looking for me? Zhang Chen said, yes, I have something to tell you. Wei Wenfang sat down opposite Zhang Chen, rubbing her hair with a towel, and said to Zhang Chen, Mr. Zhang, tell me, I'll listen. How about sending you to Shanghai? Zhang Chen asked. He thought Wei Wenfang would say right away, okay. Unexpectedly, Wei Wenfang was stunned for a moment and stopped with her hand. She looked at Zhang Chen and asked, what do you mean? Do you still remember Ge Donghai? Zhang Chen asked. 2 points husband. Yes, he came to see me today. What's up? Zhang Chen told her about Ge Donghai and Liang Fen coming to see him. Wei Wenfang understood immediately. She said, you want me to accompany him the day after tomorrow, and then let me be in charge of the entire sales in Shanghai. Zhang Chen is right, do you have any ideas of your own? Wei Wenfang continued to rub her hair with a towel and remained silent without speaking, but it was obvious that she was thinking about something. After a while, she raised her head and said to Zhang Chen, Mr. Zhang, how about I go back to the room and think about it? Zhang Chen felt a little uncomfortable, but he still said, okay, but you'd better tell me the results tonight, because I want to confirm this person today. Wei Wenfang stood up and said, okay, Mr. Zhang, I will come to you later. Wei Wenfang turned around and walked out. Zhang Chen looked at her back and shook his head slightly. The sound of the mixer gurgling could be heard in the yard. Zhang Chen walked out and saw Wei Wenfang and Wu Ziyawai walking towards the factory gate. Zhang Chen thought to himself that they probably went for a walk on the country road to discuss this matter. Zhang Chen laughed. What did the two of them have to discuss? Wu Ziyawai didn't listen to Wei Wenfang. The so-called discussion was just one party consolidating his own ideas by constantly denying the other. The factory building had reached the 3rd floor. Zhang Chen saw Lao Wan standing at the switch of the winch, controlling the winch and sending dump truck after dump truck of concrete up from the bottom. Zhang Chen walked over and gave Lao Wan a cigarette. The two stood there, smoking and chatting. After smoking a cigarette, Zhang Chen saw Wei Wenfang and Wu Ziyawai coming back from outside and walking toward the office. When they went out, the two were side by side. When they came back, one was in front and the other was behind, and Wu Ziyawai followed. Behind Wei Wenfang, who looked gloomy, Zhang Chen suddenly had a bad premonition. He felt that Wei Wenfang would refuse this assignment. As for Xiao Zhao, it seemed that he knew in the afternoon that Wei Wenfang would not go to Shanghai. Zhang Chen also walked towards the office. The three of them arrived at the door of the office almost at the same time. After walking in, Wei Wenfang and Wu Ziyawai said to close the door. Wu Kai closed the door and sat on Zhao Zhigang's seat instead of standing next to Wei Wenfang. Wu Kai sat there with a gloomy face and said nothing. Wei Venfang sat down opposite Zhang Chen. Before she could speak, her face turned red. Zhang Chen looked at her, waiting for her to speak. Wei Venfang thought for a while and finally seemed to find the right words. She said, "Mr. Zhang, thank you and Xiao Zhao for taking us in when we came back from Haikan and had nowhere to go." Zhang Chen quickly said, "There is no need to be so hostile between us. If you have any questions, just say it. You two have helped us a lot here, really. Mr. Zhang, I told you, don't be angry." Zhang Chen said yes. "Originally, I wanted to talk to you after a while, but now that Shanghai has happened, I think it would be bad if I don't tell you." "You say?" We still want to start our own business," Wei Venfang said. Zhang Chen was stunned for a moment and asked, "What to do?" "I haven't thought about it yet." Zhang Chen laughed. He had not yet thought about what kind of business he would start. Wei Venfang was a little anxious when she saw Zhang Chen smiling. She said, "Oh, Mr. Zhang, don't laugh. I didn't tell you. I originally wanted to tell you after a while, but I just wanted to wait until I thought about it before I told you." "Yes, but didn't you just tell me about Shanghai? I think I should tell you about it." Zhang Chen nodded. "If we don't leave, let alone such a good place as Shanghai, wherever you send me, I will definitely go without saying a word. But from what you said earlier, I know that Shanghai is very important. The person sent to Shanghai people are very important, and it is not easy to change in the middle. If I go to Shanghai and I have plans in mind, it will be bad. Even if I go temporarily, I will definitely not concentrate. This is not good for the company, me personally, and the relationship between us. It is irresponsible. So I feel that I must tell you my true thoughts. If Mr. Zhang is really sending, if there is no one left, and I need to be there for a while, then I will go. If there is a suitable person, I think it would be better for Mr. Zhang to send him there from the beginning." Zhang Chen thought to himself that Wei Venfang was honest, and what she said made sense. The people sent to Shanghai could not be replaced easily after they arrived. Otherwise, all the relationships that had just been established would have to start over again because of the replacement of personnel. "Then do you think there is a suitable candidate in the company?" Zhang Chen asked Wei Venfang. Wei Venfang thought for a moment and said yes, two. "Two? Can you tell me which two?" "One is Xyli. The person sent to Shanghai must not only be capable, but also reliable. Xyli has been following you and Xiao Zhao. There must be no problem with ability and reliability." "What about the other one?" "Ge Ling," Wei Venfang said. "Ge Ling's whole family is in the company, so there is no problem with her reliability. Another advantage of her going is that Ge Donghai will definitely help her with all his strength. If anything happens to those people in Shanghai, for Lao Ge's sake on the other hand, he will definitely take good care of her." Lao Ge said that those people in Shanghai would give him face. "I think it may not only be a matter of face, but also the reason why he is a patient and everyone sympathizes with him and wants to help him." Zhang Chen was stunned for a moment. Yes, this is human nature. Those people gave Lao Ge face, maybe there was such a reason. Wei Venfang proposed Ge Ling as a candidate, which Zhang Chen did not expect, but thinking about it, it was really can be used as a backup candidate. Wei Venfang continued, "So from this aspect, Ge Ling is also a candidate." "Yes, what you said makes sense," Zhang Chen said. "But the most disadvantageous thing about Ge Ling is that she is too young and lacks social experience. When you go to Shanghai, you need to have the ability to handle things independently. This job is not just about dealing with those in the clothing department of the shopping mall. There are also people below. There are so many salespeople to manage. The second is that Ge Ling has only been in the company for a few days. Her understanding of the company's situation, including clothing, is far inferior to Xyli's. In comparison, I think Xylee is more suitable. Of course, if Mr. Zhang wants to send if Ji Ling goes, I can help her for a while. Zhang Chen felt that Wei Wenfang's words were very sincere and her analysis was sound. Zhang Chen and Wei Wenfang said, I think it's better to send Xylee there. Ji Ling can also help out if she stays in Hangzhou. Wei Wenfang nodded. Zhang Chen looked at Wu Ziyawai and saw that he was sitting there with his head lowered. Zhang Chen called out, Wu Ziyawai, come here, I have something to ask you. Wu Ziyawai stood up and walked over sadly. Zhang Chen told him that if you make up your mind to start a business, you must go all out. Starting a business is not that simple. The most important thing for two people to start a business together is to work together and to cooperate with each other. Understand, do you understand? Wu Ziyawai muttered, I didn't want to start a business, she wanted to start a business. Wei Wenfang glared at him, and Zhang Chen smiled and said, if you are capable, of course you should start your own business. This is a good thing. I think Wei Wenfang is very capable. You have to help her. By the way, if there is anything you need my help with, then just speak up and don't be polite, okay? Wei Wenfang quickly said, thank you, Mr. Zhang. By the way, Wu Ziyawai, before you decide to leave, you have to help me find a driver and take him with me for a while. Zhang Chen and Wu Ziyawai said. Lao Wan, Mr. Zhang, let Lao Wan drive. He is so greedy to drive, and he actually knows how to drive. He pesters me every day and learns from me. He can drive better than Mr. Liu, but he doesn't have a driver's license. You can't do it without a driver's license, and you can't buy a driver's license. Do you know of any place where I can learn to drive? We have a driving school in Tonglu, and my master is the vice principal there. Logically speaking, the students must live in the school to study. I can talk to my master and sign up, but he is not allowed to go. If you continue to learn from me, my master is very confident about my skills. When the exam comes, just take the test, Wu Ziyawai said. Okay, then you can inquire about it tomorrow, Zhang Chen said, please help me call Lao Wan. Lao Wan followed Wu Ziyawai in, smiling all over his face as soon as he came in. Wu Ziyawai had already revealed to him that Zhang Chen was looking for him to ask about his learner's driver's license. How could he be unhappy? Zhang Chen asked, if you go to drive, what will the maintenance team do? I can ask someone to take charge of it. Besides, I don't leave the company, drive when I'm driving, and still manage the maintenance team when I drive back. Every night, I just arrange the work to be done the next day in advance. Lao Wan said anxiously. Zhang Chen felt happy just looking at it. It seems that as long as Lao Wan can drive, he can do anything you ask him to do. Zhang Chen smiled and said, then keep an eye on Wu Kai tomorrow. If he is not at his master's place to sign up for you, don't let him go. Lao Wan nodded quickly. Then Zhang Chen asked Wei Wenfang to find Xylee. Zhang Chen told her that he would send her to Shanghai. Xylee almost jumped up with joy. Zhang Chen quickly said to her, don't be too happy just yet. This matter hasn't been settled yet. We don't know yet whether they will agree to our entry. We need to pass this hurdle in the clothing department and they agree. Wei Wenfang thought for a while and said to Xylee, Xiao Li, if you do this, you go with Lao Ji the day after tomorrow, and you focus on inviting people from their clothing department to hang out in Hangzhou. There is heaven above and Suzhou and Hangzhou below. How can people not be willing to come to Hangzhou? As long as they arrive in Hangzhou, we will take them to our store and 2 factories. Seeing our company like this is strength, people will agree even if they don't care about Lao Ji's face. Okay, I understand. Xylee agreed wholeheartedly, and Zhang Chen also felt that Wei Wenfang's idea was a good one, but he couldn't tell that this little girl was usually not showy, but at critical moments, she had a clear mind. Thank you to Laughing and Running Y for the tip. Thank you Daipen, Ping and Yishan, and Xiaoxian Zibao for your monthly passes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health.